Welcome back, folks, to this clear and chilly day. It's about 12 degrees over here in Toronto. As you can see right over there. Again, it's midday, and 12 on a midday is pretty chilly. Anyway, moving on to more of the car work. Today, I'm going to be doing some routine maintenances on the Crown. The routine maintenance of choice today is the spark plugs. And I know for sure, since this Crown landed in Canadian shores, the spark plug hasn't been done. Again, this car was imported from Japan to Canada last year, 2021 September. And obviously, since the previous owner hasn't done much work to it other than the brakes. And today, I'm going to be doing the spark plugs. I hope. Again, this car has about 100 and I guess 40 and change kilometers on the dash. I hope the spark plugs have been changed before, um, in Japan, obviously. But again, I don't want to take chances. I just want to get some new spark plugs in this car, just to make sure this car just keeps running flawlessly, as it's done so far. All right, let me pop the hood. Let me show you guys exactly what needs to be done, and then we go from there. All right, so what needs to be done in order for the spark plugs to be in and out of this car? So if you saw the video where I cleaned the throttle body for this car, you would have seen I obviously took off all the plastic cladding. I took out the intake tubes, and yeah, and that's how you get near the ignition coils. And once you undo the ignition coils, you can reach your spark plugs. So for today, one more step that I'm going to be performing before I start taking all this plastic cladding off. I'm going to be undoing the battery negative terminal. Then I'm obviously taking off these plastic panels, taking off this intake tube, along with the intake itself. Unplug the sensors carefully, make sure you don't damage them, obviously. And then take off the driver side ignition coils, and then replace the spark plugs. And as for the other side, I'll give you guys a closer look when we're actually further down with some more work. All right, folks. So I just got the intake tubings out. I had to unplug a few more things along with the intake tubing. I'll go over in the actual tube and whatnot. So let's take a look what I had to do. I was trying to do a time lapse, but the wind kept knocking my phone off the stand. It's like I said, it's pretty windy today. Anyway, so we got obviously the intake plumbing out. The air filter obviously goes underneath. I took off the mass airflow. So there's a hose that goes in over here. That's obviously disconnected, along with all the other things that are disconnected. And I obviously disconnected it from the throttle body right over here with this clamp. One more thing, I'm pretty sure this is the purge solenoid. So yeah, I unplugged the connector. There's a connector that it houses over here. So I unclipped it over here, undid the connector. There's two vacuum hoses that go in over there. So obviously just disconnected those. Now, now we have plenty of space to work with over here. Obviously, the throttle body is right over there. We got the ignition coil, one, two, and the last cylinder over there. So again, like the way I'm going to be doing it, I'm going to be unplugging the connectors, 1, 2, and 3. Just make sure when you are unplugging the ignition coils, they go back to the same location, same bank, and the same cylinder, obviously. So just be careful of that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me see if I can set up my stand, then we can do a time lapse. If not, then I'll just, I guess, give you guys updates, more frequent updates. All right, so I figured I would do one at a time just to avoid any mix-ups and stuff like that. So obviously I got the first cylinder, the ignition coil one off. This is obviously in the driver's side, since the driver's side is on the right-hand side. This is the driver's side front cylinder. I forget how the cylinders are numbered, from 1 to 6, but again, yeah, the ignition coil looks pretty fine. There's no oil residue. The pins look pretty good and whatnot, and yeah, everything looks pretty how it should be, right, for a car with 150,000 kilometer. And obviously the spark plugs in down the hole. And yeah, let me just get to it, and then we'll see how the other ones go. All right, guys. So I just got the spark plug off the car. Here's an old one. It's a Denso unit. The one that I'm putting back, it's an Autolite. I'll put the part number in somewhere below. But yeah, this might be a replacement unit as well. So again, I'm not sure if this was from the factory. Yeah, so it's a good thing that we are changing it. So yeah, let me put it back in the car. Again, in terms of the torque specs for spark plugs, it's just got to be hand tighten it, and then quarter turn with your ratchet is good enough. So yeah, let me get to it, and then we'll take a look. All right, folks. So the spark plugs have been changed on the driver's side. So all these, I torqued all the ignition coil bolts down to 10 foot-pound, and I torqued the spark plugs down to around 12 foot-pound. So again, very minimal force required for these bolts and stuff like that. So I recommend you use 1/4 inch drive if you're doing these kind of services, like mostly services on your engines. Try to use 1/4 drive, so like you're not putting too much torque on these bolts. Again, really flimsy bolts. You don't want to strip your spark plug hole, the threads on the spark plug, and the cylinder head as well. You don't want to do that. That's going to cause a bad day for everyone. All right, so let me quickly show you how the other side's gonna come apart. Again, there's a few more things on this side covering the ignition coils. So mostly the harness, the wiring harness, right? So I'm just gonna undo Just checking. I think I'm gonna be undoing this connector. Could be a cam sensor, one of those. I mean, I think I could get away with just unplugging the harness itself, just like the clips off the harness. So there's one clip right over here. There's another clip right over there. So let me try doing that instead of like, going ham and just trying to disconnect the connectors, right? So let me do that, and then that should give me easy access to the ignition coils. Again, I'm just doing this step just to make my life easier when I'm actually replacing the spark plugs. But other than that, everything looks pretty easy as well on this side. I could get away with not doing the thing. It's just gonna be a bit tight. Actually, no, I do need to, because these are like firm. These are not moving at all. Anyway, let me unplug them and then I'll be back. Okay, all right, folks. Finally, apologies for not taking enough time lapses and enough videos while doing this service, because it's super windy today, like I said before. And every time I set up my tripod, it was falling over or it was getting in my way. Anyway, so again, I showed you guys driver's side. Let me show you guys the passenger side. Exactly what I need to unbolt. So obviously, this is the wiring harness that runs to the back of the car. So anywhere that was connected, I basically just unbolted it. So obviously there's two 12s just to give it some slack. There's a bolt right, yeah, there's another bolt that goes in there. There's also a connector that, I'm pretty sure it's a ground. I just unbolted that as well. And there's also two 10 millimeters that I undid. So again, it's pretty much just anywhere when you're pulling the wiring harness to get yourself some space, anywhere that was getting stuck or any place that was like, pinching itself, I just unbolted it. You don't want to issue with the wiring harness and stuff like that. Uh, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, this wasn't supposed to be too tough of a job or too complicated of a job. But again, sometimes you just never know, right? How the harnesses are and stuff like that. Anyway, let me show you the assortment of tools I use in order to complete. Obviously, I have the torque wrench, the 3/8 torque wrench. I have a 3/8 ratchet, electric ratchet. Obviously, 3/8 assorted size, like small and big, flathead, a pick, long extension with a small extension added to it. I got a 10 mil. I got a plier, and obviously a magnet and the spark plug removal tool. Again, the spark plug is a 5/8, 5/8 standard. That's what I use for this. So yeah, it's a pretty, I would say, involved maintenance. So yeah, let me put everything back and start the car up, make sure everything runs how it's supposed to be. All right, we'll see you soon. All right, folks. So everything is back to how it's supposed to be. All the bolts are connected. Um, this bolts, obviously, these two 12s. There's a ground 10 millimeter over there. The air box is back in. Obviously, all the vacuum ports are back in spot, how it should be. The evap purge is connected as well. That's the purge right over there. All right. So right now, I'm just gonna take it for a drive and go through a drive cycle, make sure everything is running how it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna come back and put the plastic bits back on. But for now, I just want to drive it out, just make sure I didn't forget anything. And yeah, just go through a drive cycle, make sure there's no check engine lights, misfiring, and stuff like that. And yeah, let's do it. Folks, so I'm just driving around for 5 to 10 minutes now. The car does feel pretty good. There's no sluggishness in the and the response and the pickup when you press the gas pedal and stuff like that. Yeah, and obviously there's no check engine lights. It doesn't stumble or anything like that. And I haven't given it a full punch yet. Like I haven't driven on the highway yet. But other than that, I mean, only thing that's obviously flashing is my AFS off light, which is the automatic level sensor for the headlights. So yeah, other than the AFS light, everything looks pretty good. There's no check engine lights. Like I said, like when you reset the battery, take the battery terminal off, everything has to reset. So I just reset my steering wheel, the radio and stuff like that. So yeah, just making sure everything is back to how it's supposed to be. Other than that, yeah, it's drives completely normal and how it should be. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see if this car accelerates fast enough so we can go a bit quicker. Nope, not really. It's all right. If anything does happen, I'll let you guys know. Other than that, easy.